The Su-57, Russia's flagship fifth-generation fighter program, continues to represent a gap between ambition and reality in the modern aerospace arena. Despite being marketed by the Russian defense establishment as a direct competitor to the United States F-22 and F-35 programs, the Su-57 has repeatedly failed to meet the standards of stealth, reliability, production scalability, and systems integration that define true fifth-generation air combat platforms. The discrepancy between the Su-57's advertised capabilities and its actual performance is not just technical, it is strategic. It reflects the broader limitations of Russia's defense industry in a post-sanctions world, and the widening technological and operational gulf between US and Russian air power. The design of the Su-57 was conceived with the goal of achieving stealth, supermaneuverability, and multirole flexibility. In theory, it would use a stealthy airframe, internal weapons bays, advanced avionics, and powerful engines to match or even surpass Western fighters in both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. In practice, however, these objectives have either been achieved only partially or not at all. One of the most critical failings of the Su-57 is in the area of stealth. True stealth is not just about shape, it's a multi-domain design philosophy that encompasses radar-absorbent materials, tightly fitted paneling, internal weapon storage, thermal signature reduction, and comprehensive electronic emission control. The Su-57 suffers from inconsistencies in all these areas. Close-up images and defense analyst reports have highlighted exposed rivets, uneven panel joins, protruding sensors, and other surface flaws that drastically reduce its radar invisibility. Its engines, which remain exposed with standard round nozzles, create a highly visible infrared and radar signature. In contrast, both the F-22 and F-35 were designed from the ground up with low observability in every aspect of their physical and electronic design. This allows U.S. fighters to penetrate deep into contested airspace while maintaining tactical surprise, an ability the Su-57 simply cannot replicate. Compounding its stealth limitations are the Su-57's production and deployment setbacks. The aircraft first flew in 2010, but over a decade later, the Russian Air Force has only a handful in operational service. As of 2025, estimates suggest that fewer than 20 are combat capable. This slow pace is partly due to budget constraints, but also to persistent technical issues with avionics, engines, flight control systems, and radar. Development of the aircraft's next-generation engine, the Izdeliye 30, remains incomplete, forcing Russia to rely on the older Al-41F1 engine, originally developed for the Su-35. These engines lack the efficiency, stealth, and power necessary for full fifth-generation performance. Supercruise, a defining feature of Western fifth-gen fighters like the F-22, is not reliably achievable in current Su-57 airframes. The aircraft's radar and avionics suite, while often discussed in Russian state media as revolutionary, has little independently verified evidence of performance. Western fifth-generation fighters are built around the concept of sensor fusion, where information from radar, infrared search and track systems, electronic warfare suites, and data links are combined to present pilots with a single, clear, real-time picture of the battlefield. This is one of the main reasons why the F-35 is not just a fighter jet, but a flying command and control platform. Russia's Su-57 reportedly has multiple sensor systems, but there is no credible proof that it achieves real-time fusion or provides the pilot with anywhere near the same level of situational awareness. Additionally, the aircraft's maintenance systems, software architecture, and digital interfaces are reportedly outdated or incomplete, reducing its effectiveness in a modern networked battlespace. Combat performance is another area where the Su-57 falls short. Despite being deployed during Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the aircraft has only been used in limited roles, typically launching long-range missiles from within Russian territory. It has not been employed in direct combat missions over contested airspace. This usage pattern suggests a lack of confidence in its survivability, particularly against Western air defense systems or even Ukraine's upgraded Soviet-era platforms. The fact that one Su-57 was confirmed damaged on the ground by a Ukrainian drone strike in 2024 reinforces this perception, highlighting vulnerabilities in both deployment practices and base security. Furthermore, a documented friendly fire incident in which a Su-57 reportedly shot down one of Russia's own unmanned stealth drones reveals fundamental flaws in software integration, command coordination, and pilot situational awareness. From a strategic viewpoint, the Su-57's limited numbers and underdeveloped systems make it irrelevant in any pure conflict scenario. Against a U.S. air campaign, the aircraft would struggle to survive, much less prevail. The United States maintains an operational fleet of over 1,000 F-35s, across the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and multiple allied nations. These jets operate with full logistical support, combat-tested sensors, integrated kill chains, and refined doctrine based on years of real-world experience. The F-22, though older, remains the most dominant air-to-air platform in existence, with unmatched kinematics and stealth. In this environment, the Su-57 does not represent a real threat. It would likely be detected, targeted, and destroyed well before it could threaten high-value assets. The lack of foreign buyers further exposes the gap between Russian propaganda and international defense realities. While nations like India were once involved in co-development, the FGFA program, they withdrew due to concerns over stealth quality, cost, and Russia's reluctance to share sensitive technology. Since then, no major military has committed to purchasing the Su-57. Efforts to pitch it as an export alternative to the F-35 have largely failed, especially since Russia cannot offer the kind of deep industrial partnerships, upgrade roadmaps, or long-term maintenance and support that U.S. programs provide. At its core, the Su-57 project illustrates the consequences of overpromising and under-delivering in defense procurement. Russia tried to leap into the fifth-generation fighter arena without the industrial base, capital, or strategic discipline to deliver. Sanctions and isolation further crippled progress, while internal mismanagement and systemic corruption slowed even basic production efforts. This has left Russia with an airframe that looks modern at airshows but lacks the depth and resilience needed for sustained operations in high-intensity warfare. In contrast, the U.S. approach to air dominance is systematic and integrated. It emphasizes not just aircraft performance, but also pilot training, sensor architecture, communications, global basing, and alliance interoperability. The Su-57, by comparison, is an isolated platform in an isolated military, cut off from the tools and partnerships that define modern combat effectiveness. Its continued delays, quality issues, and limited deployment suggest that it is more a symbolic project than a viable tool of war. The conclusion is straightforward: the Su-57 is not competitive. It is not a true fifth-generation fighter by modern standards, and it does not pose a meaningful threat to U.S. air superiority. It exists as a high-cost prototype in a struggling military system, and its relevance in any future conflict involving NATO or the United States is marginal at best.